Mic check 1 2. Rolling. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be episode 3 of the street car to race car mini series that we have going on. As you guys know, building out a track car for the GT350 platform. I've been gone for about a month. I've been doing a lot of upgrades on the car, so I have about 3 episodes queued up. But on this one, we're primarily focusing on the battery relocation and the fact that we're going from a lead acid to a lithium ion. So with that, obviously we're gonna be saving a little bit of weight. We're also going to be reducing that pendulum effect, right? With having a more front heavy car, putting more of that weight towards the center, not necessarily all the way to the back, but you'll see it later on in the video. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm putting the lithium ion battery in the passenger rear side of the car. So kind of offset that weight from the driver's seating position to the passenger side and keeping it more towards that center line of gravity. But with that being said, we did get a sponsor from Antigravity batteries, so huge shout out to those guys. They made a lot of this possible for me. A lot of the opinions that I do have are my own. I've wanted an anti-gravity battery for a long time. Thankfully, the guys at Antigravity batteries hooked me up, and in turn, I'm repping a lot of their stuff on my car. Huge shout out to you guys. Thank you. It's made a huge difference in the car already. I got to move to a larger form factor battery, but still ended up being lighter than the OEM GT350 small form factor battery. But again, thank you guys, Antigravity batteries, for sponsoring the battery. It means a lot. I will definitely put it to use, that's for sure. I wanted to give a big shout out to a company called Melee. They actually make battery boxes for like H6 batteries or any of the other form factor batteries that AGB provides. When I got the battery box in from Mel, I couldn't quite get the H6 60 battery to fit inside of it because of the foam liner at the top. I ended up pulling it off thinking like, oh, it's not gonna be a big deal. But when I went to install the thing, it was rattling around. There wasn't enough, foam to keep it in place. So I actually reached out to the guys at Mel, and Mitch Meadows was kind enough to send me some extra foam padding for free on the house, sent it out to me, and just told me to, hey, make a video, shout us out, and that's what we're doing. So Mitch, thank you a lot for sending that foam. It actually made a big difference. I shouldn't have removed it initially, but we got it all cleaned up and it's perfectly fine now. It's snug. You'll see in the video. But yeah, with all that out of the way, we're gonna go into the parts list, the tool list, everything that you're gonna need to be able to do a relocation on an S550. So let's get after it. For this project, you're going to need a drill, a selection of drill bits, a step bit, deburr tool, and a punch tool. You'll need a socket set. I highly recommend a hydraulic crimp tool. This will save you a lot of time with all the crimps that you're going to have to make, but I will leave an Amazon link to this in the description below. Again, I'm using aught gauge wire. I picked up 3 feet of the black and 12 feet of the red. Went ahead and got a selection of cable ties, copper connectors, rubber that goes over those connectors to help protect it, corrugated tubing to help protect the transition from the engine bay through the firewall into the cabin, and a 250 amp fuse. This is the AJ Hartman battery relocation bracket. It's basically a drop-in or bolt-in platform that goes in the passenger rear side of the car. Terminal bracket that you see at the bottom left doesn't come with it. However, you can reach out to him to see if he'll make you a one-off piece. In my particular instance, I'm wanting to keep the factory positive connection, so I'm having to run a terminal extender. For this, I'm using 3/8 threaded on both sides, and I did end up sourcing a few of these lead terminals that screw onto one side. They're a bit pricey to ship, but I will leave a description to that product below. Otherwise, if I still have a bunch on hand, just send me a message or just leave a comment below and we'll work something out that I just ship one of these to you. So this is the mailbox right here. If you're running an AGV battery, highly recommend you picking up one of their models depending on the model that you're using. It's all like a factory fit. It's really snug. It's perfect. I haven't had any issues with my battery shifting around. However, if you're going to be using a lead acid or an AGM, you're going to have to find your own solution as to the battery and the box itself. Just make sure that it fits on top of that platform. And of course, we have our anti-gravity battery, the H660. It's a larger form factor on the GT350. However, it still sheds, I think, 7 pounds. I'll put the weight discrepancies up here. Interesting feature about this, if you're ever stranded on the side of the road and you have no juice left, or it's a really cold day, you can use the jump feature. There's a button on top of the battery itself. And they actually provide you with 2 key fobs that you can remote jumpstart the vehicle with. Anytime you jump it though, you are going to want to recharge it properly. Don't use a traditional lead acid charger. Get a dedicated lithium ion charger to be able to do that. Alright, to get started off with the install, I'm messing with the bracket right now and the battery box just to make sure that I can bolt the battery box to the platform itself. So it's literally just a matter of, placing your battery box on top. Luckily Mel does provide holes or mounting holes, so I literally just marked them. And right now I'm drilling into the battery tray right now, starting off with pilot holes, opening up those holes later with a step bit, and then securing some rib nuts into the platform so that way the box can actually be bolted in. It's a pretty tedious process, so I'll just kind of skim through a couple of clips here. A gift. Well, I guess I'm opening a gift. Alright, early Christmas gift from my wife. Dang, what the heck? Why is it half?
I don't know, it came from Amazon.
Nice. I got a new light.
I think it was a duo pack and Amazon split it to sell it for cheaper.
So they literally just cut it in half?
Yeah, it comes with 2 lights and they literally split it in half.
Alright, so we got the battery tray in place, everything's bolted down. Loctited bolts that I thought needed to be Loctite. Next up is going to be the battery box. We're going to install this in place, and then we're going to go to the front of the car and start taking a look at some of the actual wiring. Everything is bolted down, box is not going anywhere. The fuse is on the front, so now we can start focusing on the actual wiring. Alright, I'm thinking battery comes out next. Start messing with some of the bracketry. Start mocking up the line. And yeah, we'll track it through the firewall and the trim. Zip tie it where it needs to. And that should be everything. We took out the battery box. It'll sit right about here. Right underneath the factory strut tower brace. So it'll sit there, and we're probably going to use this hole right here. We're going to drill it out to 1 inch, and we'll run our wire through and start taking some measurements and then mocking everything up. Alright, so you might not be able to see it super well, but we have that 2-gauge wire poking through. It's got a sheathing around it that I put on there. Runs the length of the car, all the way up and over. The sheathing runs out, turns into a red positive cable. And we have it hooked up right there, you might be able to see. We've run the main length of wire. The last thing we need to do is throw the battery in there, take some measurements for the battery to the terminal. It's going to be maybe a foot, 10 inches, and then run the ground from the negative terminal to the car. Alright guys, so we're back in the car. It's going to be a bit tough to see, but we have the positive wire running through the firewall all the way back here to the passenger rear side where I have the battery box and the battery bracket. It's hooked up to a 250 amp fuse right there that I can turn on and off with the push of a button. We just finished up the connection for this cable. It's going to go on that end right there on that post. We're going to get this part installed, and then we're going to ground the negative terminal to the chassis on that side, and we should in theory be ready to go. Alright guys, we ended up finding an M10 by 1.5 thread pitch bolt. So that bolts directly into the chassis. So we have the negative terminal ground out right here. Double checked the engine bay. We have our ground connected. We have our positive cable connected. Everything's snug and secure up front. And everything looks to be in order right here in the back. So the only thing we need to do now is pop this circuit breaker into the on position, and everything should light up. So we'll go and try that now. And look at that, we have power. I can hear the fuel pumps going. Very nice. Alright guys, this is a few weeks later. I realized I didn't show you what the connections looked like underneath the hood. I more so just showed you towards the back, the battery box. It's been weeks later at this point. I've done so many small things to the car that I didn't think were worth filming. I'll just go over those real quick and show you, then I'll pop the hood and then show you what the connections look like, so that way you can replicate it if you want to. So yeah, as you can tell, we chopped the hood. We installed the race louver kit to manage those under hood temps. I noticed on my first track day, my oil temps were getting extremely hot, like in the 270s, almost 280 range. And it was like midsummer, and I felt like this was something that needed to be addressed. The factory hood vent is a little bit too small for, I think, the demand that this car can really put on track. I take the bumper on and off a lot, and I noticed my tabs were starting to break, so we did go ahead and install the little bumper clip things. I also went ahead and did the GT350R front splitter. So if you know, you know, this thing sticks out a little bit more. I also got rid of my old ZL1 add-ons tow hook, but it was a little bit more cosmetic than it was functional. So I went ahead and swapped that out for the Ford Performance front tow hook. It was a little bit more invasive, but I think a lot more worth it. But yeah, this thing looks pretty mean with how it's set up in the front. Alright, so here's what we have going on underneath the hood. You can see the strut tower brace is back on. It's a pretty factory looking finish. The negative terminal I have ground out to the right over here. You can't really see it too well. Our factory positive cable still has its original OEM crimp on it. You can see that AJ Hartman bracket right there doing its job. We have our positive cable running through the firewall underneath. You will notice I did do a side project here. I relocated the coolant bottle from here to here, and it all works really nicely together. It's another kit that AJ Hartman sells. You can see all the tubing and the some of the hoses that's set up for that and running here. But yeah, it gives me a lot more space right here with that battery being moved to the back, the coolant bottle being back here. I can now do like custom catch can setups right here. I have a lot more room to work with. I might stick one where this washer bottle is, so I'm gonna lose my washer bottle and fabricate a custom bracket for that. And then the driver's side catch can will kind of be in this location. You can start to see where I have all of my components kind of playing together here. Really satisfied with how everything's working out. And the cool thing is the battery tray cover thing can actually go right on top, and you would never even know that is there. It's a really cool setup. And speaking of the hood being chopped, yeah, there it is. It kind of hurt my soul doing it, but it is done. So you'll notice there's like a factory seal here on the stock airbox. Once you install the louvers, you're not gonna have that seal anymore, so it's best to have it covered up so you don't get moisture, rain, or anything like that into the filter. All right, y'all, it's gonna wrap up episode 3. I appreciate y'all tapping in. The next episode, episode 4 of the Street Car to Race Car series is going to be killer. We're doing long tube headers from American Racing Headers and the E85 and a spicy tune. It's gonna be really, really nice. We're gonna get a little bit more power, nothing crazy, but still enough to kind of liven up the vehicle, liven up the motor a bit more. The car is currently done right now, but I'll get working on episode 4 soon and release that hopefully within the next week. I know you guys are gonna enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's going to be an absolute monster. If you like this video, just leave a like down below. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns about the process of doing something like this to your S550 or GT350, just let me know down below, and then I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Hit that bell notification. We're taking the build to places I didn't think I was originally going to go to, but I'm enjoying every step of the way. Feel free to subscribe too, stick around. Again, hit that bell notification so you're notified of anything that I put out in the future. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys in episode 4. Deuces.